Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
It's good to see you in person.
Yes, indeed. Likewise.
Yeah. So we want to talk about the media forecast and some of the things happening in the economy. Looking at how DDP has set the path aside and looking at the general economic view as well as some of the challenges with the recent fintech issues in Nigeria, which is kind of hitting home. So we want to have a look at that, have a conversation on this, and see how we can enlighten the general public. Of course, as we go along, we will look at some of the things you're also doing in-house. So your general overview of the current economic situation in the country, and what are some of the challenges for the banking industry?
No, I think that we live in interesting times. It's the best way to sort of put it. I think the last 3 or 4 years have been very, very, very different and very significant in terms of some of the things that have affected the world, which has had this impact on us as well. But certainly last year, that's when we were recovering from all the COVID and war-related issues. We also had our own economic issues, which have led to significant write-offs, etc., which obviously put a lot of pressure on the economy and a lot of pressure on the banks. I think that the way the banks have responded is by going to the fundamental basics and trying to drive efficiency in our operations. Because fundamentally, we still deal with the same customer. The same customer has their needs. We now have to find ways in which we can deal with the customers at a better cost so that they also can afford to continue to do business with us. We are in a high inflationary environment, which is driving our pricing and our interest rates much higher and making affordability to most of our businesses an issue. A lot of businesses too were impacted by all the logistics and things that happened as a result of all the things that reduced their income. So they themselves are having to recalibrate their business. So in that construct, we're working in partnership with most of our clients to be able to see how we can have business models that are sustainable to the new normal we find ourselves in. So the new normal then dictates that we have to drive a lot of efficiencies so that our cost to serve our customers come down. And if our cost to serve our customers come down, we can also offer them banking at a slightly lower cost for themselves so that their businesses too can have that freedom in there to grow. One of the areas in which we're doing this is focusing very much on digitization. Because for us, digitization gives us the opportunity to offer the same and enhanced services to the customer at a lower cost model. Digitization also enables us to get ourselves and our staff to focus more on partnership and advisory with the client. So we end up offering a superior service at a lower cost. And we feel that that's what really is going to help us to ride this wave until we get into a place where we get more stability.
With the digital agenda you're pursuing and the fintech issues, how does that position you? I mean, do you think that the fintechs, you can compete with the fintechs, or do you think that the fintechs should be part of your
So long ago when I was in business school, I learned about the concept which is co-opetition, where you collaborate with your competitors in doing business. I think the fintechs have a lot to offer because at the moment, clients who are common clients are looking for some basic financial services and are looking for it in the most convenient way possible. And therefore, they are accessing these services in various non-traditional ways. That's where the fintech plays a role, because the fintech is able to develop very quickly more convenient access to financial services than traditionally banks have done. However, the fintechs also require a secure platform in order to do this. They require infrastructure where their products and services will sit on. So in more cases than not, the fintechs have to partner with the banks, because the banks have spent or have heavily invested in infrastructure to make it safe, to make it secure. I've had international certifications like ISO, etc., which enables financial services to happen in a safe environment. It would take so much for fintechs to be able to develop that same or replicate that same infrastructure. And indeed, if they do that, the cost to serve to the clients will not be beneficial. So it then makes sense, and indeed a lot of fintechs are doing that, where you collaborate with the bank so that we can share that common infrastructure we all have, but offer the variety of products and services. In that way, when we also collaborate, when fintechs attract customers to come and use them for basic services, when it gets to the more complex services that fintechs cannot offer, like mortgages or like complex loans, because they are in the same environment that we are, we also have access to the customer so that we can also sort of deal with the customer in that way.
But the threat is real, isn't it? I mean, they have low capital in terms of entry because they don't invest in the infrastructure you do with your ATMs or your satellites and everything. They have quite low entry or low barrier to market. And if you look at mobile money penetration, for instance, quite huge. If you look at MTN transactions in a year, for instance, quite sizable, the size of about 10 banks in Uganda.
Absolutely, yeah, no. It is a real threat, but it is very much like saying that you've got an electric car, but you still need to run on a motorway. Yeah. There's a certain basic infrastructure that you require, regardless of how efficient the products and services you are offering are. And yes, the fintechs, especially the telcos, have done really well when it comes to the retail basic financial services. But when they move from there to more complex transactions, there becomes a need. So for example, this country is, the economy, like most countries in the world, is fueled by the SME. SME products and services at the moment are not as heavy on some of these fintech channels as they should be. It's because you have to organize them in a slightly more complex way than you would do with mobile users. And we are all sort of getting into that space. Yes, the telcos are offering them payment solutions where as businesses they can receive payments on their phones, etc. But there has to be a certain level of security that sort of sits behind it. Mind you, the traditional banks, we are also developing our own digital products and services. So I foresee that there will be a complementary bouquet that clients will come to, where they will get services, where they want really basic services that are predominantly designed and operated by the fintechs. And then as they move on to the ladder of more complexity, they will also encounter the banking in the same digitized world.
Do you foresee a merger between you and fintechs at some point?
Yes, I believe what I foresee is what I will term platform business. So rather than the traditional merger where we say bring your business, let's buy shares, let's all have one company, we will have a common platform where we will all showcase our products and services like a marketplace and then share in terms of the cost and share in terms of the revenue. So it's like renting of space. So for example, in UMB, for example, we have introduced what we call banking as a service. Banking as a service is a platform that if a fintech has designed their products and they want the infrastructure, they literally come and put their products on that infrastructure, more like renting. And then they can serve their customers. And that's what I see the future heading towards, where we will eventually have a common platform which is like a marketplace, and everybody will bring their products and services onto there, because the clients will come into that space in the digitized world. And in that space, where the client can find, the more variety there is there, the more clients will come into that particular space. So it will be in all of us our interest to make sure that we are all there so that the client can have a truly one-stop shop, be it insurance, be it traditional banking products, be it new sort of fintech products. So that's where I think we are all sort of heading. There's a convergence, but it probably might not be in the traditional business model as we see it, where we literally have to be the same company. I think it will be a bit more fluid than that. And I think the winners in the game will be those who will learn how to aggregate as many of these players as possible.
So for you, it's complementary, not competitive.
It is complementary. I think the caveat there is for the leadership in both all the environments to recognize that and work towards it.
So what's the Bank of Ghana's role you envisage in this whole project?
I think we've been quite lucky here because Bank of Ghana have set up an innovation department in their space. They've also got the sandpit where we can try some of the digitized products and services in there. Because of the EMI laws that have been passed, they are also supervising sort of the fintechs in there. And I think that given that sort of supervisory role, it enables us to innovate faster towards this convergence. Because if we were having two separate supervisory units, then getting into collaborations would have been a bit more difficult. Because we all have a common supervisor, so to speak, it is easier for us to then sort of bring up more partnerships, bring up more collaborations as we sort of head them. Because now if you're working with telcos, they are holding EMI licenses. They are also going to supervisory in the financial services already. So those hurdles have been crossed. So when we speak to them, we all know on the regulatory side, we can move a bit more at pace. Yeah.
So the first quarter of, let's say, first half results have shown from most parts that really recovering from some of the losses. But some of us say that the impairment issue Bank of Ghana has allowed you, have given you some way to really cover your backs or cover your books.
Well, I think the first thing is to say that this is a testament to the resilience of the Ghanaian business person. I think what we see for most of our clients is a certain level of creativity to operate within a difficult sort of environment. And we see that positiveness that is beginning to flow through the fortunes of the business, which is obviously reflected in the bank's performance as well. I think that the forbearance that has been given by Bank of Ghana is gradually weaning off, so to speak. And I think most banks are out there finding capital to build themselves up, to create more stability. So I think at the moment, what our industry and the Ghana Association of Bankers have worked very closely together, what our industry is focused on is ensuring enhanced financial stability going forward. And I think that's working very well. In terms of the business performance, it is a reflection of the recovery of our clients. As our clients are starting to recover, it's flowing through in terms of what you see in terms of business performance. So I think these two things, the way they are working in tandem, is very positive for the future, because as we are enhancing our fortunes, we are also finding ways to enhance the capital so that stability will be assured.
Did you assess the stability fund by the Bank of Ghana?
No, at the moment, the Bank of Ghana Stability Fund is in two ways. One of it is to help with short-term liquidity. The other one is to help with capital, raising of capital. I think Bank of Ghana are working with banks to approve capital plans, and from there, then we will begin to sort of know what it is.
So still work in progress.
Still work in progress. Yeah, as we sort of go on. But I mean, we work with them in terms of liquidity management.
Does UNB aim to raise capital from?
But as an indigenous bank, we are always out of the lookout to create more stability in our finances. We've been around for 50 years, and we expect to be around for more than the next 50 years as well. So we always are on the lookout, and our shareholders themselves are very keen to ensure that they provide the requisite capital to ensure the stability going forward.
So for you in particular at UNB, what has been the results for the first half? For the first half year.
We've seen for the first half of this year, we've seen a recovery as we've begun to sort of take in some of those impairments, and so we've done a lot in the first half of the year to clean up, but also we're beginning to see the shoots of the recovery sort of come through. as I say, because as we work with our clients, we are seeing positive news coming from our clients as well. What we want to ensure going forward is that we have cleaned up sufficiently, so when we start taking off, we don't have much of an issue. And I think that in itself has been successful as we've gone on. So I think we are primed to sort of take off now.
What are your projections for the upcoming budget review? What do you expect? Do you expect government to give some incentives to banks going forward?
I mean, it's going to be an interesting budget, isn't it? We are in a position where fiscal posturing is contractual instead of expansionary, given everything that is sort of happening in there. So I do not personally expect to see a lot of forbearances and things being given, because they themselves as governments are having to drive some more efficiencies in the space in which they are in. The area where we are hoping to see or hear a lot more from is avenues and opportunities to help to create the financial stability that we are working on, because even as we ourselves individually work on our financial stability, we will look to see support from government in terms of how we can create a more stable financial environment, and that they committed to when we started all this process of EDEP. And so that's what we're sort of expecting to hear from there as well.
But the contraction will affect you in the long run. I mean, you're seeing your SME growth, all right, you're seeing resilient growth, but then they're going to be more taxes, they're going to be, this IMF, these standards are going to bite more.
Yes. Indeed, we see that now. We see utility bills have all gone up. The new taxes that were approved are now going to start kicking in. Our message to most of our clients at this moment is to relook at your business model and figure out how you can make it sort of work. And we believe there's an opportunity, as I said, because most of the clients that we are dealing with are beginning to see some of the benefits from some of the programs and products and stuff that are out there enhancing financial services in the digitized world. So, for example, your cash management. How do you manage your cash management in order to lower the cost of managing cash? UMB will launch products like SpeedPay, which allows you to collect online payments and digital payments, which reduces your cost of carrying the cash and your cost of evacuating the cash, etc. Those things impact quite significantly on the bottom line, especially if you're an SME. And therefore you can release or create some more relief in your P&L, which allows you to absorb some of these new taxes or the enhanced increases in utilities and things that are also hitting you at the same time. So I think our work at the moment, post all this, is deeply advisory with our clients, where we are focused on having conversations with them, not just about what loan you can take, but really how can you bring more efficiencies into your business so that you can create some room to absorb some of these that are coming. We're confident because the Ghanaian entrepreneur, the Ghanaian businessman has always been very, very creative and has always found ways to adjust. And it's difficult, the challenges are quite significant, but we believe that as we work together, we can find ways in which we can create those efficiencies. The last time I think we started, we had some workshops with some of the entrepreneurs, and in interactions with them, they are also beginning to think as to how we can do it. So it's a perfect time for us to work together to unearth some of the opportunities that we have.
You talk of SME, I mean, your bank is an indigenous bank, which is quietly firm in that area of SME support. What have you done in this area to support the SME growth?
Yes, I mean, we've for the last 50 years or so, we've been in there, we've worked with entrepreneurs. Our heritage used to be corporate banking. Over the last decade or so, we have focused a lot on SME to try and get it in there. One of the big things that we'll be working with the SMEs to try and resolve is the lack of collateral when it comes to accessing financing. Because that is a really big one that they sort of have. And I think in recent times, we're working on a cash flow lending product, which looks at their receivables to your business and try and give them some financing, which is a multiple of those sort of receivables, so that you use your own income or cash flow to secure your own sort of facility. Early days yet, but we see really positive things coming out of it as well, and it's something that the clients sort of appreciate. So for us, that's one of the key things that we are doing. The second really key thing we are looking at in terms of expansion for some of these SMEs is looking at programs like after which have come on board, which is theoretically supposed to give access to markets beyond Ghana. And in addition to that, they've launched the Pan-African Payment Systems platform, where payments could be operated. So we're one of the banks that are very keen working on those sort of things as well. Because if you look at us, we are an indigenous bank in Ghana. One of the only ways in which we can also expand beyond the shores is to take advantage of these things and get partner banks from other places. And in so doing, also engage our SMEs so that they also have partner businesses on the other side.
Do you see your banking being becoming an international bank?
I think that in modern
the same
times,
opportunity.
Yes, I think that yes, because I think in modern times, expansion beyond the borders does not necessarily have to be brick and mortar.
Exactly.
You see what I mean? And so things like after and PAPs is offering us opportunities to compete with multinationals who are in other sort of banks as well. Once we are able to get the system done in place and set up, and we're able to build an alliance of banks that are also not multinational in other countries to be able to do it as well. So it's a start of something that could be very, very beneficial to people like ourselves, which is why we are very keen to participate.
To what extent are you leveraging on after yourself? I mean, you mentioned a few of them here, right?
Yeah.
To what extent are you leveraging that on that to support the local businesses?
I think for us, first things first, everything starts with payments. Because whatever you do, you have to be ensured that you'll be able to pay. And so we're one of the few banks that have been piloting, finding ways in which we can operationalize the payments. A few banks have tested, etc. We are also that's the types of testing. So that's what it is we're doing. Our next focus, once that is done, is to build alliances with other financial players in other countries. Looking very much at the flows. So, for example, between Ghana and Nigeria, there are a lot of flows that sort of go there. We have a partner on the other side while we're also here. Enables us now to go to the customer and say, well, if you're doing business across this border, we have a system where we can allow you to be able to transact without much of a problem. So it's those building blocks that we are now sort of focused on. But we are very confident that once we have those building blocks in place, it should be the start of some really good business that is good.
Could AFTA be a game changer for the banking sector in general? And of course, local businesses also.
I think in the long run it could. If you look at our informal market, there's so much trade that goes on between countries, especially in the sub-region. So if you come into the West African sub-region, there's so much trade because people from Burkina, etc., because they don't have ports, they come in here and they have to sort of get their imports through here. So there's a lot of trade across the borders that sort of go on. There's a lot of trade going between ourselves, Nigeria, etc. But a lot of it is informal and fraught with a lot of security issues, etc. Those issues do not allow the volumes to grow as they should grow. And they also do not allow the financial sector to play a part in it. These issues can be solved if we were able to resolve teething issues with the payment platform and AFTA. Of course, AFTA also depends on making sure that we are synchronizing the policies between ourselves. There's been a lot of conventions, etc., that have been signed, where it's supposed to harmonize the duties across, etc., etc. It's the operationalizing of those aspects of it. So it's not just the operationalizing of the systems, operationalizing now of the policies to ensure that when you're now doing these cross-border things, it is seamless and it is uniform, etc. So there's a bit of work to be done on the operationalization side of things. But eventually, once it is done, it could be quite a big thing.
The challenge for many businesses is that the interest rates in Ghana is about the highest in the world. I mean, if you talk of inflation, just last month it's up. Bank of Ghana prime rate is over the roof. And that, for Ghanaian businesses, more countries in Africa will benefit importing to our country because of the cost of doing business or cost of borrowing. It's quite cheaper from Nigeria, from South Africa, as compared to Ghana. How can we resolve this issue?
You know, businesses grow when they can expand the market. And at the moment, our markets seem to be importing more than exporting. However, some of our goods and services are very attractive to people who are not in Ghana. And the key is finding ways that these products can be accessible easily to people who are not. And once that happens, it enhances the fortunes of these business people to do. We are connected on this continent by airlines that come across, etc., etc. So transportation, etc., is we have some sort of infrastructure for that sort of thing. Harmonization of the duties and customs and things is an area that is also one of the barriers of trying to get this one. So that those can be sort of dealt with as well. But I think that once we can expose the markets to the Ghanaian business people, it will change the level of their businesses to be able to sort of do it. Interest rates, as I keep saying, is a factor of the demand and supply. When you and me will go into a bank and ask for very high rates because we're coming to save money, and the banks use these savings to then on lend to clients, and obviously once we can get more clients having more access to funds, it now gives us access to funds without having to pay such high sort of rates as well. So I think for me, the start is to ensure that we enhance the fortunes of the business players that we sort of have in the market, and not always be exposed to the imports that is sort of flowing into us. It has to be a little bit balanced in the sense of it. So quite apart from the traditional exports, there's a need to make sure we're developing more the non-traditional exports. And what gives us hope is that some of our non-traditional exports are very attractive to other parts of the continent. That's why it's good to make sure that the market is easily accessible and then take it from there.
Would we see interest rates? I mean, IMF has forecasted that yes, inflation will come down by the time of the 3-year program. Would we see interest rates come to single digits as we used to experience? You are an experienced banker.
Interest rates
the single digits were under Akufo's administration where the banks were chasing us for loans. Do we ever see this in the near future?
Interest rates are a factor of the market forces at play.
Yeah.
And yes, we can always get to those single digit interest rates, but it depends on what is happening in the marketplace at the time.
Is regulation a factor?
Fiscal discipline is a factor. I think fiscal discipline is a factor because you see, government also borrows from the same markets through T-bills, etc. And therefore, if
as a signal,
their demand for borrowing goes down, obviously it depresses the interest rates as well. So fiscal discipline is a factor, but also the growth and sustainability of the marketplace is also a very sort of key factor in there. The less people need to borrow, the less demand there is on the borrowing, and the interest rates sort of come down as well. We should bear in mind that the economic fundamentals were shaken over the last 3-4 years by worldwide events, etc. And the recovery, when these things happen, sometimes tend to be slow. But once we do our bit in terms of driving fiscal efficiencies and driving microeconomic efficiencies as well in the businesses, etc. Once the international economic fundamentals also readjust themselves, it can also work. So, for example, right after COVID, logistics became a nightmare for most people. Shipping and things, the costs went out of the roof. We're in 2023, we are seeing eventually these logistical costs beginning to trend downwards, giving a little bit of relief. The business people will not pass it on immediately because they will want to make up for losses. But when they start to pass on some of these things, it then starts to put some sort of relief into the economy, and that will then be reflected as we sort of go there. The last few days I was just checking in the US. They went into very high inflationary. Europe, they are all beginning to start to trend downwards as well. UK is still not trending as much as we would like to see it, but it shows that the curve has a way of correcting itself as long as we keep doing the good things consistently. And I think Ghana now needs some sort of fiscal discipline as a way in addition to the IMF support, to allow us to come to that space where we can hope for lower interest rates.
And let's focus on your bank again once again. What are some of the innovations we should see ahead? I mean, the digital space and the kind of things that...
Yeah, so for us, we have really much focus on two things. One is finding a way in which we can digitize our own processes so that we can drive efficiencies in ourselves, internally, and also, more importantly, allow our staff the free time to speak to clients and offer them unique advice for them, because UMB prides itself in offering a unique sort of customer service, which is personalized. And so we want to use the digitization drive to digitize lots of the operational things. So when you enter our branches, people have time to discuss your unique financial services with you. And secondly, we are externally trying to build this platform or this ecosystem where we can collaborate with as many of the players as possible. So at the moment, we're collaborating with a lot of fintechs who are using our infrastructure to launch their products and services. We aim to be a partner in that space so that instead of competing, we collaborate with them. They drive customers, we all have the same sort of customers, and then we can find ways of serving the customers through various angles that we do. And finally, we are looking at some of the key pain points in the market, like cash management, as I mentioned. We're coming out with products and services that are electronic to enable to solve some of those problems for our clients, because we believe that when we start to do that, it enhances the client's businesses in the long term as well. Some of the areas that we're looking at.
Do we foresee the financial sector in the country becoming the financial hub for the region, for instance?
It's an interesting one, because you see, when it comes to fintech, there are studies that show that Ghana, Nigeria, and perhaps South Africa and Egypt have some of the biggest populations of young fintech developers in there. So that gives us, if you like, an opportunity to be able to sort of go there. Obviously, Nigeria have big numbers, and therefore they have been able to have a unicorn come out of them yet. Ghana, we don't yet have a unicorn. I believe that we have a strong chance, given the environment we operate in. Our environment seems to be a bit more conducive. We are the center of the world anyway, so we do attract attention in that way. I think that our development of structures to encourage entrepreneurship, especially in the financial services area, will yield that fruit as we go ahead. And I notice that now there's a lot more activity focused towards entrepreneurship, especially the techpreneurship, which is into the technology sort of area as well. So I think that that's a step in the right direction at the moment. But we don't have a unicorn yet, so we can't stake claim to being a hub yet. There's still an opportunity.
So what are the prospects going forward? What do we expect to see from UMB?
For us, we pride ourselves in being an indigenous Ghanaian bank. And we also pride ourselves in bringing unique service to our clients. But more than that, we also want to be part of the future by partnering those who are designing the future. And so for us, the future lies in a strong SME portfolio based on their unique needs, but driven by technology, and partnerships with all who are offering technology out there. We want to be a bank of choice for fintechs, etc., who are there, so we partner with them. Our heritage is in corporate banking, and that one we hold out very strongly. But these are the new areas that we think that we want to sort of work on to build ourselves.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.